This video is for business leaders who want to improve their memory, attention, and focus, but are themselves ADD, ADHD, or have employees that are. Now, the truth is, it's almost certain that you have employees who are, and they're probably some of your top performers. So watch to the end of this video for bonus material diving deeper into the neuroscience of meditation, flow, and what I call the breakout bridge. So as a teacher, I've seen it probably hundreds of times. The smartest, and this literally takes seconds in most classes. Within minutes, I usually know who the smartest people in the room are, regardless of age. And this is obviously, normally this is teaching young kids, but the ADHDers are often very, very intelligent. And of course, because they have ADHD, they do make themselves noticed, but the pattern is you notice them quickly and then you find out they tend to be, if not the smartest, some of the smartest students in the class. So when they grow up, if you have a company that deals with anything intellectual, there's a very high probability they have it, whether they know it or not. Except with adults, of course, they have at least theoretically more self-control. So that's kind of the reason that I've put this in this category rather than just, hey, this is me again, I'm ADHD. So I actually learned to meditate from an old PBS series called The Brain and two neuroscientists, Richard M Restak, who actually wrote the companion book to that series. And in that book, he mentioned a guy named Herbert Benson, who I think is at the Harvard Medical School, assuming he's still alive. He's not a young man anymore. And he wrote a book called The Relaxation Response, which looked at across different meditation techniques and at the neuroscience. And he became, or is probably still, the head of behavioral medicine at I think it's Harvard Medical School. So he's got a lot of credentials, but I learned meditation from watching that series, getting interested in the neuroscience of it, reading the book, and then finding out this very simple technique, which is mostly about just pay attention to your breath. So if you're ADD or ADHD and think you can't meditate, I can tell you you're probably wrong. When I learned, I didn't know I was ADHD, but that's kind of the point. I didn't limit myself because I didn't realize that limit existed. And so I'm going to talk about one particular way, the way I do it, which is nothing special, but it works for me. But I'm also going to talk about several other techniques that I have stumbled upon and then later read another book by Herbert Benson again, which actually described what I had also discovered, except without the basically spontaneously, as these things are often identified that way, that they're either identified in history or by sort of individuals and then verified by scientists. So essentially the reason you should meditate, the reason everybody on earth should meditate, is the benefits are so great and many that everybody should do it, and you should do it daily. The reason you should do it daily is because it's subtle, it's powerful but subtle. That is, it's not like holding your breath. Holding your breath, you're going to get results pretty fast. You have to do it ongoingly, like almost any activity that you really want to have a significant effect on your brain. This increases the thickness of certain parts of the cortex, particular areas associated with memory and attention. It reduces your stress, that is I think is it glucocorticoids? I believe it is, but it reduces stress hormones. It helps you think better in your reasoning. There's just such a long list that I'm not really going to go into it. Let's just say meditation, good. Very, very good. You should do it, and you should do it every day, if only for a few minutes. Half an hour is an ideal minimum, though. So even if you're absolutely convinced that you can't do it, and it's like, oh, I can't sit still for a long time, well, that's fine. I have a whole bunch of active ways to do it, because meditation doesn't necessarily have to be done sitting still, though that's actually the way I do it. I do it immediately upon waking, laying on my bed, even though I'm ADHD, and I'll describe how I've rediscovered my original technique, which worked really well. I had lost for many years and only recently rediscovered. So that is, but I'll get into those in a second. So whether you sit still or you do it actively, either one can be done. So some of these techniques, the active ones, I actually stumbled across on my own. And then I read a book called The Breakout Principle, as I said, written by my meditation teacher. Of course, I've never met either Richard M Restak or Herbert Benson, but I've read their books, and by that way, that it was in fact them, or in particular Herbert Benson, who taught me a technique to meditate, and I've never had to vary it since then. I've experimented, but it's simple, it's research backed, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it, as they say. So here are four, one motionless and four active types of meditation you can do. So the motionless one is, there's one tweak I did make actually, and that is Restak's was about using a mantra, that is, say a neutral word like one or om with each breath. Breathe in your mind, say a word as you breathe out. And that worked, but worked even better for me is just paying attention to my breath. Now, my rediscovery was either a misconception or information I learned somewhere and had forgotten that I'd learned it. And that was, as I'm breathing, I pay attention, and especially for the ADHD component, by paying attention to the length of the breath, that is, breathe in as long and slow as you can, and out as long and slow as you can. But by having to keep your continuous attention instead of breathe in, breathe out, I found by paying attention to the duration of the breath, how long I breathe out, to get that to be as long as I can, keeps my attention far better than if I just do breathe in, breathe out, or breathe in, breathe out with a mantra, which is just any word you repeat to yourself in your mind. It doesn't have to be religious or have any meaning. So I'm actually going to talk about, oh, yes, it is four. Good. I was worried I had to add one. That is drumming. I do hand drumming. And when I first discovered playing drums along with other musicians and along with music, it was life-changing, and it literally and not just figuratively saved my life for reasons I won't go into. But the repetitive motion, the cyclical rhythmic motion, is extremely meditative. And people tend to, and most, I believe probably most musicians experience this, but I waited till I was about 38 before I learned to drum. And what I call it is the music plays me. If I'm listening to music and the music suddenly stops on a beat, I stop before I'm even aware that I've stopped. I didn't consciously stop. There's a lot of sort of neuroscience behind that. Most of your motions, most of what you do in your life is about 95% either subconscious or unconscious. So drumming is one version you can do that is very meditative. Another one is power kiting. Now, power kiting is just a big, powerful kite. I put my hands up, and you pull it left and right. It's the same as a bicycle. You pull it right to steer right. You pull it left to steer left. And if you've got a quad line, this would rotate you counterclockwise, and this would rotate you clockwise. Might not make any sense to you, but trust me, it's great. It's pretty calm, but you can also be doing it in a strong wind, and there's a certain component to all of these that I didn't know at the time. The next one, and the one that really made me aware of this phenomena, was actually land skating. So it's these big wheeled skates like rollerblades, except they're more like 1 foot in diameter wheels, one in front and one in back, and doing a skating stroke. The skating stroke with a pole. So I was using poles as well. I did this late at night, in the dark, when it's cool here in Japan during the summer. So it was skate, skate, pole. Skate, skate, pole. And because of that rhythm and my favorite music I usually listen to, which is actually psytrance, excuse me, I'm going to take a drink. It works extremely well. And again, there's a specific repeated component you see here. Now the last one, and this is my new one, and I'm doing this because of the challenges with COVID and having to teach kids without being able to touch them or pass them things. So touch might be high five, kind of things you do with young kids that keeps them engaged. Throw a ball back and forth, but because of COVID, that's not safe right now. So I saw some stuff online about something they call Blinky manipulation. So I'm only showing you this a little bit for one point. It's repetitive, it's rhythmic, and it's highly active. And it is knowing myself, but also knowing these other things work. Any active thing that includes these things, essentially what Benson called it, is he called it the breakout principle. So he wrote a book about this sort of active meditative state and the three components it really needs, or four in a sense, and that is it needs to be rhythmic, it needs to be repetitive, and it needs to require ongoing attention while still allowing mind wandering. In his book, which was called The Breakout Bridge, that's what he described, and I realized, click, that's my drumming, that's my power kiting, that's my skating and poling. All the same thing, they all have them. In fact, he talks about a champion football player, some big linebacker, macho guy, and he uses needlepoint. It's repetitive, it takes attention, and it's rhythmic. Anything like that allows you to get into this unique state, which has some benefits beyond, in a sense, what regular meditation does. So this state is fundamentally, basically identical to traditional meditation in one sense. And by the way, welcome to the bonus material. I forgot to say that. So I've kind of described the basis. Now, this state is either identical to or intermediate along a continuum between traditional passive forms of meditation, like the long breathing I first described, and Mihai Csikszentmihalyi's flow, which if you don't know that term, you probably know it as an athlete being in the zone. Same thing. In fact, that's where he gets it from. As far as I know, that's where his research started. So its main difference is that with traditional meditations, it's not active. So the main difference is that activity and the ability to help you find novel solutions while in that state. So when Herbert Benson wrote the book, The Breakout Principle, he framed it in that way. It's like, I know about meditation, I'm a neuroscientist and expert on meditation and its benefits, but in this case where you have the repetitiveness, the rhythmic component, and the requirement for specific maintained or sustained attention, but not too much, gives a perfect storm where your brain can sort of let go and wander, but in a creative way that allows you to find unique solutions to problems. Trust me, it works. It's, for me, more effective than standard meditation and has that benefit of helping me solve problems if that's what I need to do. So that's it for now. I will put links to a bunch of stuff in here as part of the bonus material, some videos and a couple of articles I've written, maybe some other videos of mine, but mostly videos of other people. And please, if you found a benefit in this video, share the love by sharing this video. That's it for Crush It Club 219, meditation for those with ADHD and ADD. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now.